Hello, good evening. You're welcome to The Woman Called You. My name is Ohunene Scott Ananaba, and I go by the acronym OSA. So, this is the first part of a three-part series entitled Moving Forward. And today's edition will be discussing things you shouldn't let get in your way. Essentially, things you shouldn't let get in your way when you take that all important decision, make that all important decision to move forward and taking that all important first step. Moving forward is quite an everyday occurrence. It's not rocket science. Every day, daily, we choose to move forward from jobs. We choose to move forward from one business to the other. We choose to develop good habits. Even something as deciding to lose weight, is moving forward in itself. Deciding to have embrace a much more healthier lifestyle is moving forward. So suffice it to say, you'll be surprised that once you have insights on what it is you want to do and choose to move forward, there's likely to be, certain factors that will want to stand as limiting factors to you, to stop you from moving forward. So what we'll be doing here for the next couple of minutes is discuss what those things are, and then also prefer means to, surmount such challenges. And one of such things that you need not move on with or take with you to the next step when you choose to move forward. Let me just quickly put it here on the screen. The first thing is self-doubt. At some point in our lives, so many of us experience self-doubt. No greater time does this happen than when you choose to move on. Those voices in your ears, ringing in your ears, telling you, girl, you can't do this. You won't be able to do this. Why are you venturing into this? Do you know how many people have been there before you? Do you know the percentage of or percentile of those who are successful in that area? Or you want to lose weight? Are you sure you can? Do you know what it will take? Yes, self-doubt can be a limiting factor, but self-doubt in itself can actually be converted to a strength. Because once there's self-doubt, once you're not sure of what, you know, moving forward will hold in that area, you're likely to begin to research more, to reach out to people who can mentor you. You you embark on due process, if I can put it that way. So self-doubt is should be some kind of check to you to ensure that you're really, doing the best you can to move ahead. So you don't just rush into it. People talk about diving into the deep end. Please, my sisters, don't attempt to dive into the deep end if you do not know how to swim. Don't attempt to dive into the deep end if you do not know how to swim. When self-doubt is negative, it's when you now begin to think less of yourself. There's a lot of self-deprecation. Oh, I'm not useful. I can't do it. Despite all my best efforts, I don't think I can do it. So I'm telling a woman today, begin to practice thinking better about yourself. When you begin to think better about yourself, before you know it, you'll be able to overcome self-doubt. That's just the tip of the iceberg, but I'm just giving us, a generic view into the things that can stop us from moving forward and things we you know, shouldn't let accompany us on this journey to move forward. So the next thing we'll be talking about, number two thing that we shouldn't let get in our way is naysayers. For those of us who are Bible scholars, if I may put it that way, we remember the story of Nehemiah when he set out to rebuild the walls, you know, of Jerusalem, and how he was taunted by Sambalat and Tobias and the rest of them. So it's very, very easy for naysayers to just stand on the sidelines when you choose to do something differently. They will always discourage you. They will give you all sorts of reasons why you shouldn't move on. They would give you statistics of people who have failed, you know, and we should be able to look at the naysayers. We should just look at it objectively. Some naysayers are not discouraging you for the sake of discouraging you. There are some naysayers who actually are saying nay because it's a way of protecting you. They know or they feel you might likely fail. To such naysayers, it would be good to sit down with them. You never, please, let me point out, you never avoid or just brush off or wish away what naysayers are saying. No. You should be able to sit down with them, you know, discuss your goals, especially if you have a kind of relationship where that is permitted. Discuss your goals, and especially if they're family members, you know, let them understand that you have no fears and they also shouldn't entertain fears. But there's some naysayers who will just say nay because they just don't want you to succeed. There are those naysayers that would say nay because they feel you probably won't have time for them again. Because one thing about growth, one thing about moving forward is your circle will have to change. And when members of your circle are threatened, you know, by your decision to move forward, they can become naysayers. And if you're able to handle the issue of naysayers very well, you may see down the line, your naysayers may actually become one of your greatest assets, your cheerleaders. But in the meantime, if you have naysayers who are saying you can't do it, and they're not preferring any objective or rational reason why they think you shouldn't embark on those things, then you shouldn't let it bother you at all, you know. So what you need to take away from this is listen to people's advice by all means, but listen to your own advice more. Listen to your own advice more. You can see that with self-doubt, with naysayers, at the end of the day, it's all about you. Self-care. Don't self-deprecate in the case of self-doubt. And in the case of naysayers, at the end of the day, listen to your own advice. But you must bear in mind that whatever advice of yours you take, you must take sole responsibility of the outcome. We are going to run quickly. Number 3 is discouragement. Number 1 was self-doubt. Number 2, naysayers. And number 3, discouragement. Yes. You know, when we start a project, most times, there's always the likelihood that we start off, you know, being very enthusiastic. We're excited. I've seen it happen to me a couple of instances. You know, I mean, at 50, you know that you should guess that I've had quite a lot of experiences that I can bring to, you know, to the table and use and infer to and refer to and all that. So, you know, when you start up a project, there's every likelihood that you are enthusiastic, you are excited, you know, you see successes, you begin to see things just happen. But it gets to a point where there is a lull, where things don't go anymore the way you expected them to go. So one of the things you should look out for is discouragement. So you should prepare for discouragement. Not when you start off, but you must have it at the back of your mind that when or if I begin to get discouraged, these are the things I would need to do. I know the signs. What are the signs of discouragement? The thing that used to make you so enthusiastic before, you don't feel any sense of enthusiasm anymore. You feel discouraged, you know, and all of that. So if you are somebody who would, you know, most likely encounter discouragement at the early stages of moving forward, you need somebody whose counsel you hold there. You see, I told you when it comes to naysayers, there are those who you would listen to advice, but at the end of the day, you take your advice. But with discouragement, you find yourself in, let me call it a quagmire. You don't know what to do essentially. And it will be very, very wrong for you to throw in the towel at that point. But one thing you should know is that for every negative comment anybody gives you, especially when you are down in the dumps, because I tell you, if after that first few months of enthusiasm and you start getting discouraged, the naysayers will come back, you know. But what you should know is that every negative thought, every negative comment that is adding to make you go down, it's their personal opinions. You need to define what you need to move forward. So God help if you have somebody who would give you objective advice and advice that will lift you up. Because whenever you're discouraged, there's as much as outside interferences can help you. At the end of the day, you must make that decision. So when you start off on anything, start off to move forward on anything, be sure that a time will come when you will lose steam. Then what? For those times, you must remember why you first embarked on those things. You must draw from your passion store. It's called the passion store. Draw from your passion store. Why did I get into this to start with? Then when you can reconnect, it's just like when people are in a love affair and the love so starts waxing cold. Usually they'll tell you, remember the first time, how did you feel? And you know one thing about human emotions, they can be recalibrated. So you can recalibrate enthusiasm for that thing that is now making you feel discouraged. Good. So we're going to the next one, and that is comparison. This particular one is a major issue when it comes to moving forward, especially in a society as ours, where you have people who probably went to school together, and one is way, way ahead, and the other person is just, lagging behind, just seeming to be listless and all that. And it takes, a special, amount of courage for somebody to decide to say, I want to start, I want to move forward, and to do that, you need to put on blinders. Don't see how far that person has gone. Don't eat yourself up. Don't obsess on whether I think I can make it. Oh, I'm planning on getting into this thing. I see people have been there before me. I see how long it took for them to get there and all that. When you begin to obsess, you will be stuck in a downward spiral. In order to let go of comparison, begin to compare yourself to yourself. Begin to see and, mark your successes in little steps. Take each day as they come. We are all individuals. We have different things happening in our lives. It might seem other people have easier lives, but it's not always the case. And matters are even made worse these days with social media, where you can't really distinguish real reality from virtual reality. So if you choose to continue to compare yourself to others, you'll be caught up in a vicious cycle. You won't move, and before you know it, discouragement will set in. Self-doubt comes all over again. You will hear all the voices of the naysayers and you begin to crumble. So the next and final point for this session is disappointment or rejection. Wow. Disappointment or rejection can be hurtful, especially when you pin all your hopes on starting a business that seems promising. There have been people who have left jobs because they were promised some kind of nirvana, Maybe you have an uncle somewhere or something and he says, leave your job, I'll be able to do this for you, I'll be able to do this for you. Some people are left wonderful things, for prospective things. And usually when you're because that's the fastest track to disappointment or rejection. So, assuming you did actually move forward into smoke and mirrors, what then? You need to begin to acknowledge your feelings. And at the end of the day, if you can just identify something good about that situation, understand that the fact that the situation is bad or you're disappointed about it, don't take it personally. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. And that's the truth. Because most people, they take disappointment and rejection ever so personally. I want to just urge us tonight, don't take disappointment or rejection personally. What you need to know is just simply this, whatever. I think, who was that guy who invented the electric bulb? They said he kept on trying and trying, or was it the telephone? But one of them, either Edison Bell or Edison, because one invented the telephony system, the other one the electric bulbs. He tried over and over again. With each consecutive failure, he knew what not to do. So anytime you're disappointed or you're rejected, look at the reason why this happened and choose to move on. But if you decide to build an altar, so to speak, you will be distracted. You will be stuck. And nobody plans to be stuck. So quickly, I'll just do a recap. 5 things. I just dealt with 5 things that we shouldn't let get in our way as we choose to move forward. Number 1 was self-doubt. And that's self-explanatory. But I said in self-doubt, you should pick the positives. That yes, self-doubt can break you, but self-doubt can also be converted to a strength, because then you choose to look out, cross your T's, dot your I's, do due process for whatever it is you want to set out to do. Then 2, naysayers, quickly, those who will say no, that will discourage you for a number of reasons, myriad of reasons. It can be selfish to some of them. They don't want you to move on because of what it will mean to them. Probably they would miss you. Probably they don't want to be left behind, or just probably they don't want to see you succeed. But naysayers, like I said, in the case of Nehemiah, when he was being discouraged by Tobias and Sanballat, it only made him put more effort into what he was out to do. And that's what naysayers should do for us. They should make us, instead of taking the stones they throw at us as, mockers throw the stones at us. No, we should use those stones as building blocks. Because when people are naysayers, it shouldn't make you get angry. It shouldn't make you feel hot. It should even make you work harder to ensure that that thing you set out to do will be a success. Then number 3, discouragement. It will be foolhardy for anybody to think you set out to do a business and it will be hunky-dory all the time. No, there's every likelihood that at a point after the enthusiasm has waned off, the enthusiasm of the beginning has waned off, there may just be a lull. And God forbid, because of the kind of climate we are in now, whether it's a financial change, whether it's a physical change, whether it's an emotional change, whether it's a relationship change, no matter what kind of change we're pursuing, there will most likely be a point of discouragement. And please, we shouldn't allow ourselves to be discouraged. Instead, we pull up ourselves by our bootstraps. Seek mentorship of some sort, seek the right circle. And before you know what's happening, and seek to know more about that thing you're doing. Because there's so many people who have become success stories. They didn't become success stories overnight. They had to go through the rigors of rising and falling, and ultimately they got to where they were headed to. Then we also had comparison. Nobody has ever gotten whatever he or she needs by constantly comparing herself to the other person. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter what decision you're trying to take. It doesn't matter whether you want to lose weight. Don't look at that person who is a size 12, who moved from a size 22 to a size 12, and say, oh, understand that there was a process in between, and be ready to embrace your own process. Embrace your own process instead of wasting valuable energy and time comparing yourself. Embrace your own process. Then 5, the final, which is disappointment or rejection. And I said, don't build an altar to disappointment or rejection. Will they come? Yes, they will come. But it's how we choose to deal with them. So you see, if you can just understand that these 5 things may likely crop up their heads, because they don't come in all these combinations. No. One person may experience self-doubt, the other person may experience disappointment or rejection. One person, God forbid, can experience all 5. But the most important thing is there are things you need to watch out for. The way one person deals with self-doubt will be different from the way another person would deal with self-doubt. But having been given, a skeletal framework to understand what these things are, you'll be better suited to deal with whatever comes your way. I hope we've made some sense today. Remember, you must move forward, and moving forward, here at The Woman Called You, all we set out to do is to inspire change through personal growth. And one thing we should understand with personal growth, that personal growth forever evolves. And one of the things we would encounter is moving forward. So remember, today, say no to self-doubt. Say no, 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 no to naysayers. Say no, no to discouragement. Say no, 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 absolute no to comparing yourself to others. Also say no to disappointment or rejection. Till we see you next time for the part 2, which is things you should stop doing. From me, OSA,